This is for the leaders, the visionaries, the hope bringers, kindness instigators. This is your place to get loved, poured into, activated, and inspired. Good morning. Welcome to Fireside Friday, May 1st. It's so good to be here in this space with you. Um, Today also marks something in the Celtic tradition called Beltane, which marks the halfway point between the spring equinox, the beginning of spring, and then summer solstice, the longest day of light and the shortest night. Um, and I've been really kind of captivated. Kind of feels like that energy is really coming forward for us this morning. And the word that has kept coming up is actually bloom. This is a time right now, the start of summer, when things are going to start to bloom and to be asked to. This is also, I've got a little flower crown on for us. Beltane also has kind of woven in some with some May Day celebrations that would have started also in the medieval times. Um, but this historically is a time too when also time of fire and light. Um, and so no matter where you are right now, because the impressions I always kind of get is we have a wide variety of the collective that listen and span this space with us. And I've been feeling like there's a little bit of a duality of what we're listening, what we need today. And so I actually have pulled two cards for us as well, two different decks. But it feels like that polarity that we're moving toward, that light and that dark. The light is coming. I feel like there are several of you who will be listening to this, maybe in this space this morning, who are listening live, or who will be listening in the future, to just know that the light is going to continue to come. I know that there is still a lot that we're moving in the energy of right now. And we also have a full moon today in Scorpio. So there's a lot of also illumination happening, things being brought to light, things that you may need to be, again, pruning from that garden so that your blooms can come in. And if you're in that space, it just feels important to just continue to remind you to keep going, to keep showing up, to keep looking for the blooms that you crave to see. I think sometimes too, we're not always in a planting or feeling like we're in an abundant season. So seek where that abundance is finding you, where life may already be blooming around you that you're not specifically cultivating, but it's just rising to meet you. That feels important to say as well. Um, but that concept of blooming, sometimes blooming might also feel a little vulnerable. There are those of you who are ready to bring more to the table or ready to express or shed some things, or maybe there's something you're sitting on that you've been afraid to bring to the world. Now is the time. This is a very fertile time. This is a very activating time for you to begin or continue that process of blooming. This feels really important to say that this time right now is your invitation to bloom in just the way that you're craving. This really is a moment when your medicine and the things that you have been circling around is ready. The world is ready to hear more from you about it. This is a time for you to really shine your light. And again, I've been reminded lately in this week. Actually, last night I went to a Bowling Green to go hear Jen Hatmaker speak, and they gave away copies of her new book called Awake. And I actually started listening to this book this week on audio before I went with my good friend Erin before we went to go see her, because I know parts of her story. And this is really a memoir about her life and the bricks that kind of led and put her life together, where she would go through a divorce, a marriage of 26 years would end. And I think that happened right right at the height or the beginning of COVID in 2020. So the memoir really details her life, her children's life, how that has all come about and how she has navigated that space. And I told Erin, one of the things that I have been struck by the most in her story is just how important community has been, to come around her and see her through these places. Her family of origin, yes, but she has a chosen group of women and some men in that space, but mostly women who have circled around her and done life together for a long time. They've been through a lot together, this group, and it is ever important to continue being reminded that we have support, that we can cultivate that. This may also be a time where you are really examining some of those friendships and relationships in your life. This is also a time to kind of lean more into those relationships that are also in reciprocity with you, that are helping carry you forward. Not only are you carrying, but that you feel carried back. This can sometimes be difficult for us as practitioners, and people who support and who want to infuse so much love and help into the world. Sometimes it can get a little lopsided. At least that's been my experience. And I've had to figure out where I've been cutting my own self short, and then also welcome to receiving support back, because I didn't even realize I kind of had a guard up against that. It felt so much easier to continue to pursue relationships that I was fostering or the lifeblood of pursuing, helping, holding, but really wasn't allowing proximity for people to hold that space back for me. And of course, that led to burnout. It led to depression. It led to my body also going like, we don't like this. We can't sustain this. And that's the other thing I was struck too about so much of what Jen shares in her writing, and it has been my experience as well. She also has been in her own span of working out her faith and her spirituality and what that means to her, um, along this path. And one of the things that she was talking about too is how she was so disconnected from her body. If you're listening and you come from a high control religious situation or religious background that really taught you to give away your autonomy, part of this work, of the things that you crave to bring forward, also might be stalled or stuck because you haven't returned that autonomy, to yourself, to trusting your own instincts. For me, I grew up in also the Southern Baptist tradition, the evangelical tradition, and it really did teach me to give away my agency to something outside of myself because I was too sinful to have information or the things that I need. So ask my pastor, go to the Bible, outsource that instinctual knowing that we actually have in ourselves, taught to distrust that gut, that thing in me that has vital information. And if you've ever heard about women's intuition, these things of being reunited with our instincts, because the same instinct that would lead me to read something and discern it, we're always discerning. We are always leading with some part of our own knowing. And we are also being invited to continue deepening that trust with that inner knowing. And for some of us, that can feel difficult, and or we could also be held up in even um, silent ways that we're not even aware of. This is also where community gets to come into play, where you can invite mentors or people who may come alongside you and reflect areas in your life that you can't even see might be holding you back. That has been so, so important for me. I feel like for many years of my life, again, I didn't know how to even receive some of that support, to be vulnerable, to ask for help, or allow someone in to my life in such a way that helps me examine that or reflect things back to me that it can be hard for me to see. So sometimes too, even inviting mentors or practitioners into the space that you trust, could also be supportive to you in this season. It could also look like body work. It could look like, that's kind of my area I'm kind of moving more into is that more connection with my body right now, and really paying attention to how she feels. And that, again, that's been a different kind of relationship to acknowledge, and it feels almost like a new language at times. And so, anyway, I feel like that invitation to bloom looks a lot of different ways for us. Again, it could be that you're in a place or a season where things kind of feel dark. And again, the reminder and the invitation here for you is to just see where life is already blooming, where you haven't had to push or force or instigate, where it is showing up to meet you. Find the light that is around you, not that you have to be it, not that it's you ushering it, but see where life is blooming all around you to encourage you, not to force. Because again, you may not have the energy or feel like you have the energy to bloom. That's okay. That is not for you right now. Your invitation and encouragement right now in this moment is just to continue going, to continue finding places of pleasure and delight, and seeing where life really does carry you. Okay. And then we also have people right now. Yes, it is your time. You're going to know what's meant for you. It is your time right now. If you're feeling instigated, there's something you wanted to bring, there's something that you're ready to share. It is time for you to do that. It's time for you to take what feels risky, and open yourself up. And yes, it still could mean that people aren't ready to receive it, but those that are, it's going to feel very life-giving for you to also see those people show up who are magnetized to that. And it could even just be one or two people, but it's going to be powerful. So let yourself bloom in that way. And then finally, too, this invitation for bloom and pruning. There's also this, again, with Beltane, it's also like a fire festival. And again, coming back to this piece of community, really, really examining who you have around you, who you want to take forward, who you want to give your energy to, and who you might be ready to release. So one of the things that I really loved about learning more about Beltane is that with this Festival of Fire in Ireland, there was this spot that was supposed, and I mean, I didn't look super deep into this, so they may still do this, but I was listening to a podcast specifically, and I'll link it in the show notes, around some of the history of Beltane. And one of the things that I love that she said is what they would do is they would light a community pyre, a fire, and they would go to the central spot in Ireland where they would begin with the fire. And what they would do is everybody in their homes would put their hearth fire out, the thing that warmed their hearth, their home. They would all put those out. They would go to this Beltane festival where they would dance and weave flower garlands, again, an honoring of spring. It's also a time of fertility, pleasure. And so they would have this festival of life, of aliveness, and be together. And then what they would also do is they would light a pyre there, and everyone would take a part of that fire and they would take it back to their hearth. And so then what would happen to the central point in Ireland, once that initial one was lit, then they would be signs all across the coast and all around the cities where you'd see this huge fire go, and the other communities would light them too that were further out. And so I just imagine this chain of fires. And so normally too, when I start Fireside, or before I start Fireside, I light a candle. And today I wanted to light the candle with you in honor of this communal space that we listen and gather in, that we infuse our life together. Because if you have been listening, you have been infusing. I tap into your energy. I am trying to draw us together and for us to also feel the magnitude that we have when we gather and we celebrate. And for people, for women especially, who are eager for more, who want to see more love and light. So if you're in this community, I wanted to light a candle for us together, and thought maybe too, if you're in a place where you're listening, where you want to light your own candle, I would love for you to do that just again, or at some point today. So I'm lighting our fireside candle now. This isn't a mug that I made myself, but we've got our little fire lit. I'm pretty sure I did this on the first fireside as well. And so I just love, again, the reminder too of the light every time that we are infusing our life, choosing to invest our light. Our devotion, we talked about that last week. Every time we are choosing to focus our life in an area to really give it attention, witness, and intention, it is powerful. You are powerful. That feels also important. I'm going to just hold this here. That feels important also to just remind each and every one of you that you have incredible power, not only in who you are and who you surround yourself with and what you choose to cultivate in the world, but also in how you bloom, how you show up. Each and every time you take your fire into the world, your love into the world, even in small ways, you are changing the narrative. You are infusing this world with more love and light just by being you. And it's really just also so powerful to remember that you and your essence, just as you are, is such a divine gift to this space. And just like I loved this too at Jen's she had a Q&A that they opened it up to. And one of the women who got the mic, she basically didn't have a question, but she just wanted to say, like, your story and your life has been so encouraging to me. It's helped make me brave. And what she said back was, she said, for every time you see me being brave, it was because other people were also brave. They gave me courage. And I love the word courage. Courage at the root of the word courage is COUR, which is Latin for heart. It is speaking from your heart. It is living from that place, from the essence of who you are, the wellspring of who you are, and just being the love that is you. It's powerful. All right. So finally, I'm going to go with our two cards. All right. So for these, we've got one that's Earth Magic and one that is Angels and Ancestors. Earth Magic has more of a dewy purple pink tone to the deck. Angels and Ancestors is more green. I just really want you to tap into just for a moment. Am I feeling more drawn to the Earth Magic? It could be that color. I mentioned the decks because sometimes that helps us hone. And then the other, again, is more green, angels and ancestors. So earth magic, angels and ancestors. I'm going to start with earth magic. And again, just kind of see which one you're feeling drawn to. There could be some crossover. I haven't really read these cards yet, but we'll see what we have going on here. Okay. So really just decide which one is feeling like it is calling you in, okay? Lightning, power. We have this for earth magic. We see power all around us. It's in the mountains, meadows, and clouds. In fact, in every expression of nature. Yet there isn't a more dramatic display of nature's power than lightning. It electrifies and splits the atmosphere such that when the heated air comes rushing together, we hear thunder, the applause of the gods. Lightning sharpens our senses and triggers fear and awe. We see these forked beams of light, brilliant light, jump from the sky, and our instinctual vigilance is triggered in anticipation of the roar that follows. We naturally seek shelter from the storm or are grateful that we are already being sheltered. This demonstration of the power of creation is yet another way to remind us that we are not in control of the natural world. When we witness nature's power with open hearts and minds, we see that it is neither destructive nor constructive. It simply is. The power available to you, the force of life itself, is neutral. It is neither inherently good nor bad. It is how you utilize it that will determine whether it is ultimately harmful or life-giving and congruent with the will of spirit that pulses through you. What is required is awareness of your intention, your values, and your willingness to act on them under the particular circumstances of your inquiry. Although you may see yourself as using this power for good, Do not allow yourself to get caught up in the duality of good or bad in determining your decisions or actions. Through prayer or ceremony, you can tap into this spiritual force, and by paying close attention to Spirit's prompting, your choice will ultimately be revealed to you, one that is beyond your typical perspective. From there, you can continue to access the divine power that is this very force striving the universe. Neither it's neutral. You get to decide this power. You get to lean into what is meant for you, and let that activate you. Okay. And finally, angels and ancestors, if this is what you are drawn towards. Animal guardian, trust your instincts. Trust the powerful animal spirit within to learn more about yourself and your talents. The animal guardian is the card that represents the angels of the animal kingdom. Animals are angels of nature who have incredible lessons to offer and medicine that can support you on your spiritual journey and help you survive some of your greatest challenges. When you connect with the energies of the animals, you can learn a lot about yourself and the earth. You also have instinctive animal energy within that can direct you towards everything you need and more. The Animal Guardian card depicts a tribal angel being held and supported by her animals. She has a love for them and they have a love for her, demonstrating how incredibly connected nature is with the spiritual realms. You have a powerful animal within that can be wild, protective, instinctual, and even calm. Animals don't second guess how they feel, they just express it, and you can learn from that. When this card arises, it's important to connect with how you really feel, how you want to feel, and what you really need. Take the time to connect with your animal energy and express it naturally. Let even the fiercest energy move through you before returning to your natural state. It will teach you a lot about your gifts and how you can grow. You have powerful, instinctual knowing. Trust your instincts. Let them be expressed. Let them lead you at this time. That is what's coming through to both cards. Very powerful, connecting to nature. What is really drawing you forward? Notice the blooms in your life and bloom. Happy Beltane. Happy May 1st. I'll see you next week.